Hi everybody, happy spring. Hopefully you're still finding some time to do that, a little bit of quilting, even though those gardens are calling your name. I've been finishing up some of my winter quilts, and one of the things that I like to do when I create quilts is also create pieced borders. And these two projects that I was working on finishing up both required me to use match points in order to make the borders be precise. And I thought this might make a great tips and tricks. So that's what we're going to talk about today. What are match points? Why I use them, when I use them, and how do I make them? So before we get started on how do we do piecing using match points, let me talk about some of the things that you're going to want to have at your fingertips. First thing you're going to want to have at your fingertips is one of my Quilter's Magic Wands. Now we have these in a bunch of different colors. Each of these tools is 1/2 inch wide, and it has an etched lasered cut line right down the middle. Now Sarah's going to hold one up really close to the camera so you can kind of see that etched line. But they're all made exactly the same way, and this is going to allow me to easily mark my future 1/4 inch seams and not lose track of this thing in the process. Now, the other thing that I'm going to want to have at my disposal are fine marking tools. These are some of the ones that I prefer. Friction pens are nice because they can be removed easily with heat. So you can mark either on the right side or the wrong side of your fabric. Regular pencils are nice. I tend to pull out ones that are a little bit finer rather than the brand X kind that you pick up at the school supply place. And then I sometimes will use the fine pigment pens, and I always have the this is a Bowen, but a colored click pencil that will help me out when I'm trying to mark on dark fabrics. So, and one other thing, or the other thing that I would recommend, use your very best pins. You want them to be fine, you want them to be sharp. What you don't want to do is pull out those great big pins that you use at your design board to stick and hold something up. These will not give you the accuracy that you want. So use fine markers, fine rulers, and fine pins, and you'll get better results. So let me clear the decks here just a little bit, and I'm going to get started with how I created the Star 60 border. Now the Star 60 unit, the first step in creating this border was to actually create the Star 60 unit. What I did was take the tool and trimmed the tip. I left the base with the extra fabric on it so that when I'm done with this border, this particular border, I can then come back and trim everything down to size. But I do have trim the tips of all those Star 60 units. And then to make the match points on these, what I'm going to do to each unit is to make a mark using my Quilter's Magic Wand, and I'm going to line up that laser etched line on the raw edge. And then I'm going to take my marker and make just a short line. Doesn't have to be the whole length. It's just at the crosshairs of the seam. And I'll make one on one side, come over and make one on the other side. And again, if you use the friction pens, it's safe to mark on either the wrong side or the right side. And so that's what I did with both of these two pieces, so that when I go to position them together, I can flip this over, find the match point. Let me put my glasses on so I can actually do this well. Find the match point that I've drawn on the wrong side of the first piece. And the match point comes at the intersection of the line and the seam. And I put my pin right through there. Now, because I used a friction pen, I've got my next match point on the right side, and I'm going to go right through that. So I'm matching my future sewing intersections of that. And when I match those, line up the raw edges, rather than anchoring the match point with the positioning pin, what I'll do is take a second pin and actually place it in front and sometimes one behind as well. So that as I stitch through there, what's going to happen is each one of these is going to match beautifully, even though the seams are coming from different angles and different perspectives. It's going to keep my border nice and straight, and it's going to allow me to trim everything off at the edge, and that's what a match point looks like for the Star 60 unit. Now, for the other project that I was working on, this is my Pop Stars. I'm remaking the Pop Stars project, and it has a big piece border all the way around the outside, and the piece border consists of a Lemoyne S triangle and a large quarter square triangle. And both of those pieces have to be cut at exactly the right size. There can't be any oversizing on this one. So when you read the instructions to the pattern, it will tell you that. These pieces, some have seams and some do not. For example, the large or the quarter square triangles have no seams in them. So what I need to do here is I need to make an actual X that will be my match point by lining up that lasered line with the edge, make a line here, a mark here, line up the lasered edge down this way, make a mark, and make a mark and a mark. So I have 3 different X's on these things. And you know, I do exactly the same thing when I've got the piece one. Make a mark, and make a mark. So that when I go to put these together, one is going to go this way and one is going to go this way. And when you flip them over, you're thinking, how do I match those weird edges? Well, that's where the match points come into play. Take the match point on the first one, put the pin right through that X, take the match point on the other one, and you know, I made the match points. You might think, wow, those are really pretty dark. They are, and that's just for the video. Generally, my match points are just dark enough for me to be able to see them, but not have a lot of extra ink or graphite in there. But once I get that positioning pin in there, I would do the same thing down at this side. Take another pin, go through the points. Go through the match point on one, go through the match point on the other, and line up the raw edges, add those anchoring pins here and here, so that when I go to stitch these, I am now going to have straight edges that will give me straight borders when I'm all done. And they're going to give me borders that have the 1/4 of an inch that I need at the top and the 1/4 of an inch that I need at the bottom to be able to keep all my points and to keep my border nice and straight. So match points, if you're familiar at all with hand piecing, this is what hand piecing was years and years and years ago. But so many of us have not had that experience of hand piecing that you may not know what a match point is. It's the point or the intersection of your future 1/4 of an inch seams. Don't trust your eyes on that one, because especially with long skinny points, sometimes our eyes aren't as accurate. But by taking a few minutes to mark, you are going to find that your points line up better, that your pieces end up being straight, and you don't have to limit these match point processes to borders. You can use them when you're putting odd angles together in a block, or you're building units that have one seam going one way and one seam going another. Match those points with marks first, and you're going to have better results. So that's it for today. Hopefully this is going to help in some of your future projects. You guys have a great couple weeks, and I'll see you soon.